Rachel Torres had learned long ago that the easiest way to disappear was to stand in plain sight. In the roaring stadiums of the NFL, under the blinding glare of camera lights and the chants of tens of thousands of fans, she was untouchable. To the world, she was nothing more than a dazzling blonde athlete, an improbable story of determination who had carved her way into one of the toughest sports on earth. The headlines called her a trailblazer. The commentators said she was making history. None of them had the faintest clue who she really was. For Rachel, football was the mask. Beneath it lay a past so buried, so carefully dismantled, that even the most dedicated investigative journalist couldn't trace it back. She wasn't just a player. She was a ghost in the wires, a phantom in code, a hacker whose hands had once danced across keyboards in underground basements, pulling secrets from steel vaults of data. Years before her first touchdown, she had been an entirely different kind of star, one whispered about in cybersecurity circles, feared by corporate networks, and hunted by three-letter agencies. And she had walked away. Or at least, she told herself she had. That Sunday afternoon, the stadium was chaos in all the usual ways. Fans draped in jerseys, the smell of beer and hot dogs saturating the air, the rhythmic pounding of marching bands. Rachel jogged onto the field, helmet tucked under her arm, a practiced smile lighting up her face. From the sideline, her teammates bickered, shouted, and laughed. It was the same circus every week, and she loved it for exactly one reason. No one looked past the uniform. She slipped into the huddle, listening as the quarterback barked out the first play. Nothing unusual. Not yet. But back in the glassed-in control room overlooking the stadium, where the team's operations staff monitored everything from scoreboard graphics to instant replay feeds, alarms were already beginning to blink red. Is anyone else seeing this?" a nervous intern stammered, pointing at one of the screens. Numbers scrolled too fast to read, error messages flickered, and the system clock began to skip, jumping minutes at a time. "Probably just a sync error," his supervisor muttered. But when the stadium lights flickered, once, then again, half the room went silent. Rachel didn't see the panic above the field, not yet. She was too focused on the opening drive, on selling her disguise as nothing more than another day's performance. But somewhere deep inside the servers that powered the stadium, an intruder was writing their signature in fire. The first quarter dragged on with the usual mix of cheers and groans from the stands. Rachel caught a pass, absorbed a tackle, and forced herself to breathe evenly as the adrenaline spiked. On the outside, she was a player like any other. Sweat, grit, focus. But then the giant LED scoreboard froze. The play clock stopped at 12 seconds and wouldn't budge. The massive screen flickered, went black, then came back alive with a hiss of static. On the sidelines, coaches started shouting, pointing toward the press box. "What the hell's going on with the clock?" the quarterback yelled. "Refs are blind," another teammate snapped. Rachel tilted her helmet back and looked up at the scoreboard. Her gut tightened. The static pattern wasn't random. To most people it looked like nonsense, but to her it was unmistakable. A coded signature, embedded in the pixel noise. She hadn't seen it in years, a name whispered from her past, half forgotten and never spoken aloud in polite company. Ghost Jack. Her heart pounded harder than any sprint down the field. Whoever was inside their systems wasn't just a vandal. This was personal. Above, the operations control room had devolved into chaos. "We've lost the control feed to the main board. Switch to backup. No, the backup's compromised too. Somebody kill the connection. Just pull the goddamn plug." But when a technician yanked a cable from the rack, the entire bank of monitors went black, only to reboot seconds later with the same taunting static. A laugh, synthetic and warped, echoed through the audio channel. Rachel yanked her helmet off, jaw clenched. She'd spent years running from this world. Now it was crashing right into the middle of her cover. She needed a way out, not out of the stadium, out of the charade. For a brief moment she scanned the sidelines, calculating. The coaches were shouting into headsets, players confused, fans restless. Nobody paid her much attention. Perfect. Rachel jogged toward the locker room tunnel, feigning a limp. A trainer waved after her, but she shook him off with a gesture. Inside, away from the cameras, she moved fast, past the showers, through the corridor, into the restricted maintenance stairwell. By the time she reached the service level below the stands, she had already pulled her phone from her bag. Not the team-issued device, her own, the one she kept encrypted and offline unless absolutely necessary. Her thumbs moved with mechanical precision, unlocking a hidden partition. The screen came alive with a black terminal window. "Hello, Jack," she murmured under her breath. Above her, the announcers' voices cracked through the PA system, trying to stall the restless crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing a temporary technical difficulty with the scoreboard. Please remain in your seats." Rachel ignored it. She was already tunneling into the stadium's Wi-Fi backbone, bypassing the firewalls she herself had quietly reinforced months ago when she first joined the team. A precaution. Old habits died hard. Within seconds, she saw the signatures of intrusion. Elegant, precise, mocking. Ghostjack wasn't just defacing screens. He was digging deeper, searching through the franchise's internal systems, payroll, medical records, even the scouting databases. And Rachel understood the stakes instantly. It wasn't just about embarrassing a football team. If Ghostjack got what he wanted, it could mean blackmail, ruined careers, stolen identities. She typed fast, code streaming like a storm. Her fingers remembered the rhythm, the dance. Every keystroke was muscle memory. But then her earpiece buzzed. A voice cracked in, one of the assistant coaches. "Torres? Where the hell are you? We need you back on the field." Rachel froze, then forced calm into her voice. "Tweaked my ankle. Getting it checked. 2 minutes." 2 minutes? We don't have 2 minutes. She muted the channel, jaw set. She had bigger problems. Back in the control room, tension had broken into shouting matches. "Cut the internet to the whole building. You can't. Ticketing, concessions, everything's tied in. We're hemorrhaging data here. Someone's inside our system." Voices overlapped, panicked and sharp. One technician swore he saw files being copied in real time. Contracts, trade negotiations, confidential strategy documents. Rachel tunneled deeper, launching countermeasures disguised as normal traffic. Her code probed, tested, and finally slammed against a wall of encryption. Ghostjack wasn't sloppy. He wanted her to follow, to recognize his hand. On her screen, a line of text appeared, unbidden. "Hello, Rachel." Long time. Her blood ran cold. He knew. "Damn it," she whispered, fingers flying. She masked her location, cloaked her device, rerouted through multiple proxies, but Ghostjack anticipated each move, mirroring her defenses with his own attacks. It was like sparring with a reflection. Above, in the stadium bowl, the scoreboard lit up again, not with stats but with text, huge and mocking across 40 feet of LED. "Everyone hides something." Fans gasped, phones whipped out, social media exploded. Rachel bit her lip hard enough to taste copper. He wasn't just targeting the team, he was targeting her. She typed furiously, opening a direct line. "Stop this!" The reply was instant. "Make me!" The clock was ticking. She could hear the distant roar of the crowd growing restless, the confused chatter of teammates echoing through the tunnels. Upstairs, the coaches were screaming over headsets, demanding answers. Rachel's hands blurred over the keys. She launched a counter-intrusion, a digital spear aimed straight at Ghostjack's core process. For a moment, she thought she had him. Then, her own phone buzzed violently. The screen split, a new window opening against her will. Her device was compromised. "Still sloppy," the words scrolled. "I expected more from the legend." Rachel cursed under her breath. She hadn't wanted this. She hadn't wanted to come back. But Ghostjack was dragging her, forcing her. She switched tactics. Instead of brute force, she slipped into misdirection. Dummy processes, fake files, digital echoes meant to confuse and scatter. Ghostjack bit, chasing the decoys. It bought her precious seconds. In those seconds, she struck. A hidden exploit buried in the scoreboard control firmware, one she had left months ago like a safety hatch. Her own ghost, waiting. She unleashed it. Above, the massive screen blinked once, twice, then cleared. The scoreboard returned, play clock ticking, stats restored. The crowd erupted in confused relief. In the control room, staff cheered, hugging, shouting. "We're back!" Whatever happened, it's fixed. But Rachel wasn't celebrating. She stared at her phone, waiting. A final message appeared. Nice move, but this isn't over. You can't hide forever. Then the connection severed. By the time Rachel limped back onto the field, the game was in full swing again. Nobody questioned her excuse about the ankle. The quarterback clapped her on the back, shouting, "Glad you're back, Torres! We need you out here." She smiled, the perfect mask slipping effortlessly into place. The crowd roared as the play resumed, blissfully unaware of how close everything had come to collapse. Inside, though, her chest was tight. Ghost Jack was still out there. He knew her name, her past, the truth she had buried under layers of turf and sweat and headlines. The game carried on. The cameras focused on touchdowns and tackles, but Rachel's thoughts were elsewhere, on firewalls, on code, on the shadow chasing her across digital landscapes. When the final whistle blew and her teammates celebrated, she stood apart, helmet under her arm, face lit by the stadium lights. To everyone else, she was just another player, exhausted and victorious. But Rachel Torres knew the truth. She had just re-entered a war she had sworn she'd left behind. And this time, the battlefield was everywhere.